Alrighty. I know people will show up as we go, so we'll get things started. Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. It got a little windy on the back nine, but nothing crazy. I was just happy to get out and play. To be honest with you, I haven't played since what, three weeks maybe. So yeah. Alrighty, let's get into it. Starting out with the economic calendar. That's where we like to start out with. Obviously, it should be a little interesting. I'm curious to know if they keep this Thursday schedule with the Jimmy Carter funeral service, and the market's going to be closed on Thursday. I'm curious to know if they keep this together. But if they do, so be it. If not, I'm sure we can adjust from there. But it's all about jobs data this week. No doubt about that. You got a few Fed speakers in there, but things heat up on Tuesday with some jolts, and then we have the ADP non-farm employment on Wednesday, followed by unemployment claims. We get a few bond auctions here on the 10-year on Wednesday as well. You get the 30-year on Thursday, and like I said, I don't know if this will stay the same. I'm assuming it will, since it hasn't been changed yet. I guess I'll check it tomorrow to see. But all in all, it's going to be a busy economic calendar week altogether with the jobs data. You even got non-farm employment on Friday and the unemployment rate as well down there. So we'll have to, keep our eyes and ears peeled and see what that data turns out to be like as we progress forward. So we'll see. Looks interesting. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and dive into the charts. Like I said, it's all going to be about the jobs, and we'll take it day by day as far as that goes. But yeah, here we go. Here's the daily SPY chart. We're going to look at the main ETFs and the indices, and we'll take a look at the FANG names and then a few of the MAG 7 and kind of go from there and see what kind of pops out to us. I know I set out. Oh, yeah, we do got the meeting minutes too. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's going to be an interesting week for sure, and the indices and really the sectors are in such a peculiar spot that we'll kind of get into that. But yeah, SPY here, looking at the daily. Obviously the weeklies are going to be pretty solid across the board, so I'm going to focus primarily on the daily structures here. Starting out with the SPY daily, we're in a neutral position here, but we are trading below the 21 EMA and the 50 simple moving average. That's why we're more so in a neutral positioning. We're just kind of in no man's land. We had a pretty solid day on Friday after a few days of selling off last week to start out the new year, and we're still holding and defending. Bulls are doing a good job at defending the gap up that was created back in November. And I'm still swinging some SPY puts that expire on Wednesday. Those are pretty much worthless right now, so we'll see if those come back to life if we move back down and fill this gap all the way down to about the 576.5 mark. So that's kind of what I'm paying attention to. There's no major squeeze on the board on the SPY. But we do want to zoom in a little bit to see how things are going. Neutral on the hourly. Score is a little bit bearish, but this is still kind of sideways price action. If we look at the 30-minute, that doesn't really offer us too much, to be honest with you, but we're still holding above support, which is going to be about that 580 one mark all the way down to the gap zone. So that's going to be the key thing here. Can the market continue to hold the gap? And if so, you got this 30-minute 200, which is declining down here to about the 596.50 mark. We can see that when we came back up to the 30-minute 200 right here at about the 600 level, we had a struggle right here, and then we whacked down. So now we're just kind of in that same same spot here. Are we going to move back up and reject again to move lower, or what the deal is? So right now, neutral bull here on the 30-minute, neutral on the hourly. It's just kind of messy. We do have an hourly low compression squeeze that is firing to the upside here. As we know, this squeezes can run up to about 8 to 10 bars or so, 8 bars on average, but that's the case. That still takes you back up to the 600 mark. And you can see right here, the 602-ish is kind of a big spot here. You know, usually when you get these breakouts, you have to check back in with mom, and then if you're okay, if things settle in okay here, then you can run up to the next one, which would be the 200. So if we pull back to the hourly 50 and are unable to hold it, then I imagine we come back down. If not, then if we do hold, then sure, we can come back up to the 200. That's kind of what my my thesis is here moving forward. But as far as the daily goes, it's just kind of a sloppy mess. If anything, you got a little bit of a downtrend here, but we're still primarily in a dominant overall uptrend, especially when we look at the weekly chart. We can still see that this is still a beautiful uptrend. I zoomed in way too much. A beautiful uptrend. All dips to the 21 EMA have been pretty viable dip buying opportunities for the market bulls, and we just continue to rocket higher. We're just a wee bit shy. Actually, we did tap it, so we'll see if that continues to hold. I mean, this mark is going to be pretty darn important as we move forward in these next few days, even weeks. So can they continue to hold the gap up that was created in November? That's going to be my main question here. Let's move on to the Qs. QQQ, kind of the same spot here. Neutral overall. We are in a low compression squeeze here. That's what I'm paying attention to. Last time we were in a squeeze was pretty much way back here. That fired long. We did have a little bit of a squeeze here. That fired long. Now we're in a new low compression squeeze, but selling pressure seems to be upticking. If we start to lose this 50-day simple moving average, that could be the bearer of bad news for market bulls. But you know what? That's going to be kind of tricky. And I say tricky because the semiconductors, which is on my very, very close eye right now, is in a very interesting spot. Semiconductors look pretty darn juicy. It's kind of like a do or die situation here for these semiconductors. So far, the semiconductors have held the daily 200 for quite some time. I'll have to zoom out just to see how long we've been doing it. But let's see. Let's go back 3 years here. Yeah, all the way back to, let's see, we broke out here. Yeah, we retested it back in November of last year, it looks like. And since then, it's been holding strong. So that was our test. Here was our test. Here's our test. And so far, we're still holding on to that daily 200. Big squeeze here on the daily. We got a squeeze on the 2-day, the 3-day, the 4-day. This thing is just so full of squeezes, it's not even funny. If the SMH loses this daily 200, that is something that I am going to want to be quite aware of. We could get a nasty push down if we happen to lose this daily 200. But this squeeze, if this wants to fire, semiconductors can easily come back alive. We saw that last week with NVIDIA. We did some overnight swings on NVIDIA and hit it pretty big there on the overnight swing. But NVIDIA itself is also in a fresh, actually it's not fresh, it's just in a very large squeeze here, 2-day, 3-day squeeze. Looking pretty good here. If this does want to fire along, all we need is a little bit of some new positive thrust. See how we had this weak thrust here, and then finally we got a little bit of a green boy here that sent us up a little bit. That's kind of what I'm looking for here on this chart, is a new strong thrust candle here, mid-level thrust, that would take us ultimately to about this 160 mark. Just take out the lifetime high there at about 153 and then take us to 160. That's something that I'm definitely paying attention to. Broadcom looks pretty darn awesome as well. Well, kind of sideways past few weeks. TSM, we're still holding the debit spreads there, and this looks fantastic. I mean, beautiful thrust here. We got the daily squeeze that has gone from a mid-level compression to a low-level compression. So what that's telling us is that the compression is finally expanding, and it looks like it is going to fire to the upside. So TSM looks great. I know there are some semiconductors out there that don't look as great, such as AMD. AMD's been actually a decent little short, so I'm curious to see if the entire semiconductor sector does want to squeeze. How far up will AMD go? Will AMD come up to this daily 200 or what? But if you look at it compared to like TSM and Broadcom, this is quite the opposite. You got a max bear score across the board, bear MACD, very strong thrust. There's no squeezes on this one. So AMD looks pretty nasty when you compare it to NVIDIA and TSM. So this is AMD's not something that I want to long. NVIDIA is something that I definitely am interested in longing, especially if the semiconductors want to fire off this wonderful daily squeeze. Just need a new little green arrow there to get this mid compression to send us, at least to this 260 mark. You could even buy calls if you want to on the SMH itself. I would just have to check the liquidity because I haven't looked at the liquidity on the SMH in a hot minute. I've been just playing individual names, but altogether the SMH looks like a good spot to be, as long as the daily 200 holds up. If the daily 200, if we happen to have at least 2 consecutive closes below the daily 200 on the semiconductors, that is something that will bother me. That will be troublesome, because if we look at the other prospects out there in the market, there's not really much going on. If we look at small caps have been beat down to a pulp ever since the Powell testimony, not testimony, the Q&A session on the FOMC minutes. Ever since then, it hasn't been looking too good. I mean, you got a little bit of support down here at about 218. The daily 200 sits at about 215. If we start to lose the daily 215, the IWM looks like a complete short. The Dow itself does have a 4-hour squeeze in a neutral spot, but if we happen to lose this 421.72 mark, I definitely want to be interested in shorting the Dow all the way back down to at least the daily 200 down here at about the 410 mark. So that's my level, 421.72 all the way down to 410 if we happen to lose this with the 4-hour squeeze. So we'll take a look here at that 4-hour squeeze. And you go mid bear score, momentum, we're down below the trailing ATR, bearish MACD. We can see here on the squeeze that we did enter a 1 dot mid compression squeeze, but now it looks like we're expanding back out. So if this squeeze does happen to pick up steam and we start to see more selling pressure on the momentum, then yeah, I'm looking to short this thing on down to that 410 level on the Dow. And we can easily look at the RSP, which is the equal weighted S&P 500. It pretty much has the same ebb and flow as like the IWM and the Dow, just kind of holding above the daily 200 mid caps. Same thing, same story here. Nothing really to look at. It's pretty much all of the big tech, and I can also show you this, which is my Mag 7 index. So this basically takes everybody in the Mag 7 and we put them into a weighted index, and there you go. We can see that the Mag 7 itself is in a squeeze here on the daily time frame. It's just a matter of, can they hold the daily 50 and hold these key zones and break to the upside? And it's all going to depend really on those semiconductors that we looked at, SMH, AVGO, TSM, NVIDIA. Apple, Apple looks decent, but we'll get into those in just a moment. Actually, Apple probably doesn't look decent, but let's go on to some of these sectors, and I'll tell you why. You know, the semiconductors are going to pretty much have to carry the weight of the market, because if we look at some of these sectors, they all look pretty rough. XLB daily, it's in a strong bear. I mean, look how far down we're trading below the key moving averages. We're well below the 200. We're getting beat up on the 21. The 50 is way up there as well. You're having a death cross there on the daily here on the XLB. If we look at the communication sectors, you got a little bit of a breath of fresh air with the communication sector. You're holding on to the daily 50, but you're in a neutral spot here. There's no squeeze to be seen here. You got like a 4-hour low compression squeeze. But, you know, you got some interesting names here, mostly Meta. Meta is going to be the key here. If Meta breaks above 611.50, that's definitely something that I want to be aware of. So I do have an alert set up right there at 611.50. Break above 611.50, I'm looking for prices around 630, 632, and we'll see from there. You're also in a low compression squeeze that I want to see which way that triggers. So if Meta can get above 611.50, that is something that I am most definitely interested in. It had a very good day on Thursday. Friday, it had a pretty good day Friday. It just closed down at the lows where it opened. So nothing fabulous there, but 611.50, that's where I want to know. That would also break you above December 19th swing high, and yeah, I think that would open the door for about 630 there on Meta. The other one in that sector is going to be Google. Google has this nice little triangle formation set up. If it can break above to the upside, that's definitely something that I'm also interested in as well. Let's see, I should be able to create an alert with that, and I want to know if that crosses above. So we'll see if that occurs. Let's see. Okay, so that was the communication sector. I don't want to spend too much time. Energy, you know, I don't really have too much excitement here. Mid bear, no squeezes here, weak thrust. It's just not a good sector. And I mean, you can look at some individual names like ExxonMobil, PSX, CVX. I mean, they just don't look fun to trade, to be honest with you. So we'll just ignore it and move on with our lives. Financials, same thing here. Neutral on the daily. If it happens to break down the 47.59, that's something that I want to kind of pay attention to. There's some interesting financial names out there that I'm going to keep an eye on as far as individual names such as Berkshire. But here on the financials, yeah, still a little ugly. There is a 4-hour mid-level compression, which is basically your normal squeeze there. 4-hour squeeze. I want something a little bit more. There we go. 4-hour squeeze. If we break down below 47.50, then sure, we can come down to the daily 200, which sits at about 47. Now, there is the argument to be made. Well, what if it breaks above 49.25? That would essentially get you above the 4-hour 21 EMA, and that could signal that this 4-hour squeeze, it could possibly squeeze to the upside. But as you can see, we've gone from no squeeze to low compression to mid compression. So we can see that, yeah, price is still, you know, volatility is still compressing, and we're still waiting for this to make a move, whether it's to the upside or to the downside is left to be seen. But if we look at names like Berkshire, for example, B. Oh yeah, it's not a dot, it's a dash on TOS. Everybody's different with Berk B or Berk A. You got a dash or dot or Heimlich maneuver or something like that. Berk B, similar situation here. Mid bear, weak thrust. No squeeze though, but you do have like a 4-hour low compression and a 4-day squeeze and a 3-day squeeze. So if we break below 446, yeah, we could get a move toward about 437. So that's definitely one name that I am paying attention to. If we go take a look at Bank of America, there's not much there, to be honest with you. But you got some interesting spots such as Visa, which is in a mid-level compression. Looks pretty bullish to me. Max bull score has a score of 50. 4-hour squeeze, daily squeeze, 2-day squeeze. Squeezes everywhere here for Visa. So Visa, if this wants to fire to the long side, then sure, that would be great. But we went from a squeeze to a low level squeeze. So we went, started to come out of the squeeze and then we kind of moved back into it. So it's not quite ready yet, but this is a good sign. And we're just looking to see if it'll, push back up to about 320. So that's something I'm going to be paying attention to next week is the financials. Even though, it is in a neutral spot, just needs to clear 49 and a quarter or 49 or 47.50, excuse me. Moving on to industrials. Mid bear, doesn't look that great. Trying to hold on to the daily 200. It could be a good buying opportunity too if you like to buy at the daily 200, depending on how you want to play the overall market. But, if it loses the daily 200, not that great, is it? But yeah, we've seen some weakness in the industrials. The Dow has just been kind of bleh as well. So that definitely has its, bearings. XLK neutral. This is another good spot outside of the XLC. Still holding on. You're in a a low level compression. Weak thrust. Last time we had, some weak down thrust, we had some nice little green boys and you had a nice little move up. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on to see which way this squeeze will fire. And that could also depend on which way Apple and Microsoft move. If we look at Apple, has had a very nice, strong bullish move to about the 260 mark. But it looks like we're coming back down to retest this prior... Oops, terrible. TOS. Retest the prior breakout level here. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on. Is this 237 mark and the daily 50? If we can hold that, could be a pretty good dip buy opportunity. Even though we do have weak thrust to the downside, you have a low compression squeeze on the 1 hour and 2 hour, but nothing fancy outside of that. Like I said, you had this very, very awesome move here off of the daily squeeze. That has ran its course, and now we're just kind of waiting and seeing if we get into another squeeze where we get those gray dots or red dots, and we can make a move from there. So it's all going to depend, how well is Apple going to operate these next few weeks? How well is Microsoft going to operate these next few weeks? I mean, Microsoft definitely is not the prettiest of the Mag 7 out there. If you ask me, we did have a little bit of a low compression squeeze here on the daily, and it just doesn't look too good. We got a 4-day squeeze. We are trading below the daily 200, but, it kind of doesn't really seem to care too much where the daily 200 is, to be honest with you. I mean, we kind of break down and we come up, come back down to it, come back up. Yeah, we'll kind of trade along with it. Are we going? Nope. Gap down. No, we're going back to it. We're just kind of all over the place with this daily 200. We can't quite seem to decide if it's going to, carry on to new highs or if it's going to, fall on down. So Apple and Microsoft have the highest weightings within the XLK. If they happen to fall out of love with investors and traders, then yeah, the XLK could turn from neutral to bearish. So we'll have to see. And if it does happen to fall, I do anticipate the daily 200 will act as some level of support. Hang on, I gotta sneeze. All right, excuse me. Yep, 200, daily 200 down there. If Apple and Microsoft fall on down. XLP, consumer staples. Yeah, that's not a bright spot in the market, is it? We're losing the daily 200. You got names like Pepsi. This looks terrible. This looks like a nice little short. You're trading below the daily 200. You're trading below the daily 50. bear trend, MACD, a strong thrust. It just looks gross across the board. Coke looks just as bad. Procter and Gamble looks ugly. Um, Nike. We took puts on Nike. That looks terrible. Looks like it's going to fall down, which I'm still looking for a price of a move to Nike. How would I play what? Pepsi? Yes. Okay, so for like Pepsi, I would, let's see, you had a nice little breakdown here on the daily where you closed below 149. Now, I would personally like to see it bounce. This is kind of where I'm at with AMD, to be honest with you. So you're down here. I don't feel too comfortable shorting here, especially with the extreme reading. I would want to at least see a good day where it bounces back, maybe even test the 21 EMA, retest the 21 EMA, and then get short here. And, this is where the tricky spot is, with AMD. I went short on AMD. Was it back here? Yeah, back here where we had this squeeze. And then we got this nice little flush. Now we're getting this nice little push back up. And I'm curious to see how well AMD reacts if the overall semiconductor sector wants to push up, because I would like to short this again, because every time since we've had that breakdown of the daily 200, every time we've come up to the 21, it's moved lower, came up to the 21 here. This is when we got into that squeeze. Then we got moved lower. That was a beautiful move there. So I want to see a new squeeze here possibly, and short from the daily 21. That way, if, say if Pepsi comes all the way back up to the 21, at least your back is up against a wall. That way, if price does get like some sort of rally, you have a good clean stop above here, as opposed to you're getting short here and your stop needs to be above here. This is pretty far, so it's easier to short here than it is to short here. So it could also depend on how frisky you're being. For something like Pepsi, I would definitely go out. I would start looking at the February contracts, which is going to be about 45 days out, and just make sure you have good open interest. As long as you have good OI, you should be good. It looks like the 140s, yeah, the 145s and the 140s have good OI there if you want to try to do something with that. AMD is pretty liquid, so you shouldn't have any issues with AMD. But yeah, max bear on AMD, max bear on Pepsi, max bear on Coke, or strong bear on Coke. Procter and Gamble's in a squeeze, right there at the 200. Excuse me, it's not in a squeeze. It's on a low compression squeeze on the 4-day. But you got the daily firing, the 2-day firing, the 3-day firing. So yeah, anything XLP just looks gross. So yeah, there's another sector that's just not quite there with it. XLRE, I don't really pay too much attention to the XLRE. It's just not something I trade. But mid bear, that's all I got for you as far as XLRE. I don't trade it. XLU mid bear. Nothing too crazy there. You're still holding above the daily 200 and the 50. See, all these sectors pretty much look the same. It's kind of like we're probably waiting and seeing to see how this market wants to react. Probably, let's see, we got the Trump inauguration. The 19th. So that's coming up, and then we got earnings that'll start to heat up in a few weeks. So we'll see. But XLU probably not something not really something I touch too much. XLV, strong bear here, no squeeze there. Looks pretty gross. XLV, UNH looks bad. Johnson & Johnson looks pretty rough. Yeah, see, I even got an alert ready for this one. Max bear on Johnson & Johnson. If we crack below 143, I'm going to be looking for a move down to, let's see, I need to zoom out. I'm going to have to zoom out even more. Where do I gotta? Nope, it's all there. Let me zoom out more. Yeah, 143. You might as well come all the way down to at least 136, 134. Yeah, lose 143 looks pretty bad for Johnson and Johnson. So yeah, I got an alert ready for that one. If Johnson & Johnson wants to break down, momentum could definitely carry over. Sure, we're still we're a little extended now from the 21. So if we get a push back up, that'd be a fantastic spot to short. But if we start to crash through, use that term lightly, crash through. If we start to break down below this, you could get yourself a nice little momentum trade. So yeah, Johnny John. Yeah, I'd keep my eye on that one. Let's see, what's another one I'm trying to think of? Lily, that's it. LLY. LLY, strong bear, low compression squeeze. Yeah, this could get fun. Except I don't know. Let me check the contracts here on Lily. Expensive. Lily has expensive contracts, so you might have to naked short it. Just gotta be careful with that. But yep, low compression squeeze here at the 21. Strong bear looks pretty gross. We looked at Johnny John and UNH AbbVie. Haven't looked at AbbVie in a hot minute. That one actually doesn't look terrible. We got a gap here at 184. Low compression squeeze. We're neutral here. Okay, so the XLV does want to heat up for whatever reason. AbbVie might be a decent player. Merck. Yeah, Merck is trying to hang on for dear life here too. 95 on Merck. TMO. All right, this will be the last one of XLV. Got a nice little daily squeeze here, hitting the daily 50. Not something I really trade though. So yeah, I like Johnny John. Johnny John's probably my favorite. Yeah, needs to crack 143 for downside, and then if the XLV wants to come alive, AbbVie needs to break above 184. And let's see if we can get at least a half gap. That would take you to about, let's see, this was, our high was 178.50. That was 199. So yeah, you're probably looking at about 190. If we get above 184, I'd look for 190. If the XLV wants to party. All right, then we got the XLY. XLY is in neutral, so consumer discretionary. That's going to be your Amazons and Tesla. Amazon, not too bad. Fresh mid-level compression squeeze. Just needs a little green arrow here for the thrust to take out the weak thrust signal here. Need a green arrow with the squeeze, and off we go. You probably draw a trend line here, which I will go ahead and do. And I need that here. There we go. And then I can create an alert there. Crosses above. That way I will know if Amazon wants to have a field day to the upside. So Amazon, yeah, gets a green check mark. Strong bull. Beautiful score, 36 above the trailing ATR at 218.17. So that looks good. Mid-level compression squeeze. I think you have some pretty good ingredients here on Amazon. I will just zoom in to see how the 4 hour is doing here. Low compression squeeze. Yeah, same thing. Just needs to get above 30-minute. Oh, yeah, if you get above the 30-minute 200, that looks nice. Get above the 30-minute 200, 226. Yeah, you might as well take on 229 and then 232, 233. That looks great. So Amazon's going to be on the short list this week to go long. Short list to go long. Let's see. Oh, Tesla XLY component. Tesla, big breakout off of post-election. Now coming back in. needs to hold 360, 355 zone. As long as you do that, I mean, that would also hold you here at the daily 50. And granted, I'm not running any kind of fibs, it's just looking at price action levels. So as long as you hold this looks pretty clean to me. But if you start to lose this, then yeah, this could become, false breakout, and then down we go. Retest the daily 200. But so far, so good. Tesla's one of those crazy names. You never know what you get. No squeezes there on Tesla. So if we recap, if you were keeping score between the XLB, pretty much all the spider sectors, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 11 sectors are bearish, have some sort of bear necessities there. So interpret that as you will. Uber, yeah, strong bear. You got a low compression squeeze. But where is she going here? Do we have any other squeezes today? Yeah, just a 30-minute squeeze. Let's check the 30-minute out. Okay, 30-minute looks good. You have price action breaking above the 250. You had a crossover. I would like to see a retest. You see how we broke out above the 200? I would have liked to have seen it retest, like check back in, hello, hey, and then go, instead of, that's a little scary to me. But this is bullish price action. You could easily draw a trend line here, and then if price action breaks above that trend line, then you know it's time to hang it up. So let's see, there's the 30-minute. Let's go to the hourly. Ooh, hourly, you bonked your head on the hourly 200. You had an hourly squeeze that's fired long. Mid bull here. Yeah, see, I think you might come down. But I don't have too much evidence other than one candle. See, I only have one candle here. So, still a toss-up. Now, would I call this an A+ setup? No. But I would want to know. I want to know if we happen to break below 59.30. And then, really, I don't like it until you get back above 73. You could even argue 76. So you're kind of in la la land. Did you even fill this gap? No. Price didn't even fill that gap down at about 56. I mean, that's okay. It doesn't have to fill. But yeah, I wouldn't call this like an A+ setup for me on either side, just because you're kind of in la la land. Rivian? I know Rivian had a good day on Friday. This is not something I trade. This is not something I really touch or care for. But you do have a low compression squeeze here. Let's check out the weekly. Just because I don't trade it doesn't mean it's not, something great. I could check them on weekly. Oh, what? Yes, it's the Tesla killer Rivian. They had good numbers from what I understand. That is a ugly weekly chart. But let's see. Strong bull. Cool. Strong bull, ATR above it. No squeeze. Bullish trend, MACD. So that's good. Strong thrust. Yep. This looks good. All right. Weekly looks good. Let's move down to the daily. Daily. Mid bull. Okay, good. Check. Low compression squeeze. Brownie points. Bull trend extreme. Careful. Whoa. I don't know why I was still drawing. Mid-level compression, so that's a bonus point. Bull trend extreme. Okay. Strong thrust, so you got some green arrows, so that's good. Strong thrust. Yeah, Nice little bullish pop on Friday. Where's she going to go? Let's see. I mean, is there anything preventing it from hitting this level up here? Yeah, I mean, just because it's not my cup of tea doesn't mean you don't have to trade it. But yeah, I mean, this looks good. This has really good components to it. Would I buy it here? No. Your chance to buy it was down here and here. So when you were down here, this was great. Or once you started to get that pop and you bought it, yeah, that was a great buy. No doubt about that. Would I buy it here? Nope. Nope. That's chasing. But my target would be up here at about 1886. Take care of these guys. But you're still in a low compression squeeze, so the squeeze technically has not fired. We're still in that low compression squeeze, and this thing can still go. So this thing has some power to it. Now, if I wanted to dip buy, you got a little bit of support here at 1560, and then you can also dip buy on the hourly 21, which sits at about 15. So 1560 and 15, that would be my zone to do a dip buy opportunity and bring it on up. You had a low level compression squeeze here that has fired to the upside. Let's check the 4-hour. Kind of skip that 4-hour. Oh yeah, okay. 4-hour, you had a mid-level compression go into low-level compression. Now that it is firing bullish, this can continue to go on for about 8 bars. So 8 4-hour bars translates into like a week and a half, give or take. You have good strong thrust here for that squeeze to go. Yeah, this has all the right ingredients. Rivian. How about that? How about that? Dip buy. So you have the hourly squeeze that fired, which is triggering the 4-hour squeeze. The 4-hour squeeze is now triggering should start to trigger this daily squeeze unless something happens on the short-term time frames. But that's how it should cascade. The 1 hour triggers the 4-hour, the 4-hour triggers the daily, etc. The daily squeeze can run 8 bars, 8 trading sessions. So there you go. Yeah, I don't have any complaints here on Rivian other than I wouldn't buy it here. I would wait for or at least a pullback to the hourly 21 or retest of hourly support, which you had the nice little breakout here. So between this 1560, 1550 could be a nice little dip buy. Or if you want to be conservative and wait for a retest of the hourly 21 down at 15, there's your other opportunity. So going to have to write that. I don't play Rivian. It's probably been a long. I'd have to check my books. When was the last time I played Rivian? It's probably been a hot minute. But that is going in my notes with an exclam because that's a good setup. Thanks for sharing, Risk. I'm not going to try to do your full name because I would probably butcher it. So Risk. There you go. Rivian. Yeah, good job. Good eye. All right. So let's see. We looked at Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Tesla, Google. Google has a 4-level test. Bonds. We haven't really looked at bonds, but I mean, there's not really much to look at, to be honest with you. ZB's getting whacked in the face. VIX. VIX has had a pretty interesting few sessions. We get these pops to about 1950. Not quite 20, but we got close there on Thursday, only to be slapped back down. So volatility's in, then it's out. It's in, then it's out. Yeah. Square. Ooh, good day on Friday. Gap up on Friday. Let's clear the drawing board. Neutral on the board. This will probably change tomorrow, to be honest with you. All right, neutral bull since it closed above the 21. Let's see. You retested the 8750. So you retested that breakout level, which is that white line. Let me go to a weekly. You got a 2-day squeeze. All right, so let me translate this real quick. So we had a daily squeeze here at the highs. That squeeze is firing short, but we can see that the selling momentum is now yellow. So this could signify that selling pressure is finally done. And we could get a reset here, get another yellow bar, enter into another low compression squeeze, and go from there back up and retest the highs at 99.26. I would wait for a green arrow here on square to counteract the weak down thrust here. That's just me being nitpicky though. We do have a 2-day squeeze. Let me check that out. Oh yeah. Okay. So if we let me note this. If we happen to close back below this prior breakout level, 87.50, I would probably not play it. But as long as we're up here, I think you're in a good spot. Let's go to a weekly time frame. Go away. Weekly, no squeeze, mid bull. Just need to clear the weekly 200, which sits at about 107.50. Trying to get above that. Clear that, then that should open the door for this to 149. So 107 is your weekly 200. What was the other 2-day? Okay, so I need to go back to here. Actually, go to here. Time frame. 2-day. 2-day squeeze. Let's check that one out. That looks a lot better. Yeah, so we got a 1 dot compression here, mid-level compression. Strong bull. Weak thrust, weak down, so you just need a green arrow. And you should be able to take out 100, so there's that. Let me go back to, let me go to the 30-minute. Okay, so there's your gap up. Again, we gapped up and don't have a retest. So I would like to see a retest and then go. But mid bull, yeah, I'd wait for a retreat to about this zone. So that would give you a test of that gap down at about 90. That's probably where I'd be looking to dip by 90 in the gap. Take that because it's a mid bull, so it's not like a perfect scenario here. That looks good. 30-minute squeeze, fired, ran its course. So yeah, a little bit of a dip, and then I'll take it to the long side. Let's see. Let me go to hourly. Same kind of thing there. Let me just go back to the daily. Yeah. So as long as you hold 87.50, I think that makes a lot of sense. Selling pressure is starting to wean off, especially with that Friday gap up. I don't know if they had news or if that was a news candle, but what's interesting is, what is the sentiment of this gap? So everybody who got short here is treading water. Basically, they're drowning. Especially these guys. Everyone who got short here, thinking that Square was going to have a terrible next few sessions after breaking below 87.50 and thinking it was going to go lower. They shorted here or anywhere in this candle, thinking this thing was going to go down. They just got blasted out of the water. These guys, some of these guys. This is a pretty nasty gap up. This could have some steam to go to the upside at about 95. So I like the sentiment of this gap. It just needs to hold, in my opinion. Hold 90 to 87.50. If you get a dip down here, I think that could be a nice little dip buy opportunity because these guys are going to want to get out at break even. And in order to do that, they have to buy. And that just creates more pressure to go back higher. So that's how I would interpret Square. It's neutral, but it has a decent shot at at least coming back up to 95, maybe even 99 if that 2-day squeeze really starts to kick into gear. Yeah, this 2-day squeeze starts to run and we start to get some good momentum. Yeah, you're in the right spot. But you're when you're wrong. You're wrong if you move back below 87.50. $87.50, and then you're definitely wrong if you get back below 85. Soon. Okay, so another name that I don't really touch, but that's okay. We'll still analyze it. Let's see. Let's start with the weekly. Work our way down. Whoa. Is this all of the chart? Yes, it is. This is all of the max chart. Now, let's see. Be curious to see what happens if you throw in a weighted VWAP here at the IPO. Curious to know where that's at. Okay, so weekly max bull. Okay. Weekly squeeze fired long. Hooray. Hooray bulls there on soon. All right. This has run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I wouldn't be looking to buy up here. No siree. No siree. Buying up here's for the birds. Let's go to a daily. Okay. No squeeze. Bull trend extreme. Weak thrust, so we're still in a decent bull market, no doubt about that. Let's see, support's going to be down here, yeah. 18 level support. Got a 2-hour squeeze. I'll take a peek at that. Okay, so bullish, check. So 36, so yeah. As long as you're riding momentum and this 21 holds, you're good. Like I said, I wouldn't be interested in buying way up here. So as long as you pull back to dynamic support, which would be the daily 21, as long as you hold the daily 21, you're good. If you start to lose the daily 21 in this 18 mark, you could get a nasty slippage and come back to this support down at about 13, it looks like. So we'll mark those levels. Yeah, there you go. 13. Hold that. You want to hold the daily 21, which sits at about 18. Let's see. That's going to be a zone, though. Right here will be a zone. If you want to draw a box around that. So around the 18-17 zone, as long as you hold that, you could be in a nice little dip buy opportunity. But if you start to lose this, yeah, you're coming down to 13. Careful. Let's go check out that 2-hour squeeze. So let me go to a 30-day and go to a 2-hour. Here's your 2-hour squeeze. Is that right? No, it's a low compression, it says. So, okay, so it's just now entering a low compression. All right, so you get a little bit of a better idea of that 1730 level. So we could draw this here. So you want to get above, what is that, about 22? Yeah, get above 22. That would be a nice little breakout for a scalp. Let's go to an hour. Yeah, you can see a little bit better there. You can probably redraw this maybe. You can even do that. Breakout of about 20. What's the date? Okay, so we could say the hourly 50, which sits at about 2180. Break about 2180, take it back up to 24. There's this. We can refine this level. 1910. So I'm going to get rid of this. All right, lose 1910. I'd be a little bit careful, and then you could get a nice buying opportunity at about 1730. Other than that, that's what I got. Daily, it's a strong uptrend, that's for sure. I would just want to see where this 21 holds. And you see, you got my zones now, 1910 to 1730. If you come back in here, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Just as long as you hold this, you're fine. But if you lose this, then look out below. And that weekly chart looks really good. Okay. Let's see, 30. Yeah, that looks a little bit more refined. 1910, 1730 goes down to this zone. So yeah, depending on how you want to play it. If you start to lose this 1730, you can short it. And then if you break to the upside, break some of these trend lines, yeah, go long or buy some more. If you are already long, I would just trail your stops. I would trail your stops. Don't, whatever your average is, don't let it go red. But I wouldn't want it to lose this because you don't want to give everything up, you know. But yeah, if you're already in, good job. If you caught this move to the upside, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Lulu limit. Oh yeah. I've actually been waiting on this setup for a while. So let me clear these drawings. Actually, let me just, yeah, let me remove that one. I want this one. This, not, okay, yeah, I can clear that out. So Lulu came all the way up to 418.70. I remember looking at this one, a few weeks ago, and we actually discussed this on our, I think it was the last time we did Sunday Night Prep, which was forever ago. No, it wasn't forever ago. It was like 2 weeks ago. Something like that. All right, so we had this big push to the upside, squeeze, fired to the upside, but we bonked our head at 418.70, which is gap resistance. And, you know, I remember I was like, I don't want to buy up here. This is too risky to buy. I want to wait for it to come back into the 21. Now we're just kind of sitting here. So I'm going to write this down so I can keep an eye on it. It's not going to have an exclamation mark on my end, but it's going to be on watch. Lulu, it's got that fresh low compression squeeze. So we went from a squeeze, that fired, now we're in a new one. So cool. Mid bull score. Now we just have to get above 418. I would be interested in a debit spread here. A debit spread seems less risky. Let's see what open interest is. I'll check February 1st. Let me see. Okay, maybe not. Let's see. We got 2 more weeks for these. We could do, let's see. The anticipated move for next week is, or for the next 2 weeks, is 23 points on Lulu. So 23 points from 378. That would take us to 400, essentially. It's a 400 call going for. So a naked 400 is going about 380 on the ask. I'd probably prefer to do a debit spread because that would be hopefully a little bit more cheaper. 380. Let me look. A 10 wide, 380, 390. Yeah, there's some love there. 380's got plenty, 390's got plenty. Lots of open interest in that 400, so that's going to be your max pain, I'm sure. Yeah, that's definitely going to be your max pain for the January expiration. All right, so I do like this idea, Thomas, and I appreciate you bringing it up. 418, we're pulling back to the daily 21 after a nice little gap up. Yeah, we pulled back to the 21 dynamic support into a new daily squeeze. Mid bull. Okay. Now we could wait for a confirmation here to use that as a confirmation, get a green arrow to confirm. Maybe if we can get a good day tomorrow, that would be good. Let me see. Let's go to a 4 hour. 4 hour has a mid-level compression squeeze. Okay, so we went from no squeeze to a low-level compression to a mid-level compression. So we're still squeezing. We're squeezing in tighter. This is bullish trend. MACD's red, though, with weak thrust. So we could wait on at least a 4 hour neutral bull. So I would want to see an arrow on the 4. That could give us ultimately an arrow on the daily. Okay, let me go to the hour. Hourly's neutral. We went from a low compression squeeze to a mid-level. That did fire, but we didn't really go far, so let's see. Neutral, no trend, weak thrust. That doesn't really give me much, does it? We got weak thrust. Maybe if we get a yellow arrow here. Let me go to a 30-minute. 30 minutes neutral, but it looks a little bit uglier, doesn't it? So 30-minute would need to get above 384. We could argue it needs to get above 390. Get above 390. Had a low level compression squeeze. I think which ultimately it would mean that we need to wait for the 4 hour to come into play with this 4 hour squeeze. So let's see. Yeah, I think that's what I'll wait on. Lulu, 4 hour squeeze. And then I'm looking for a green arrow or a debit spread. Okay. Yeah, Lulu's going on the watch list for me this week. Just got to clear that and play it from there. Because I do like this daily setup. New squeeze, gap up, you're pulling back into dynamic support, and you're trying to establish support there at 365. And we could, if we get the measured move to 23 points by next week, by the end of next week, that takes us back to 400. And if we do a 380, 390 bull call spread, that could work out pretty well. Or we could just do a naked 400 call, which would be a little bit riskier because those are like 380. I like it. I like it. All right. All right. Any questions? Let's review. SPY. It's a peculiar spot. We're in a neutral spot across the board. Just need to hold the gap, and bulls can be okay. You can see that the momentum has gone from red to yellow. If we see another yellow bar, that could signal that selling pressure has subsided for the time being. But yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see how things shape up, especially with the NASDAQ and the semiconductors. Semiconductors should be a big tell. If the semiconductors can get back to moving again with NVIDIA, Broadcom, TSM, all those guys look phenomenal. I think QCOM's even in a squeeze. I haven't looked at IBM in a while. IBM could get a little interesting. Let's see, on. Ew, not on. On looks worse than Intel. And that's saying something. Yeah, nobody loves Intel. Let's see. Yeah, I think those are going to be your knights in shining armor. MU's got a shot, mainly just to ride on the curtain tails of the big boys. So MU needs to get above 91. Get above 91, you get 93.50, which is your daily 21. And then if you want to overshoot it, your mid gap's probably going to be around 99, 100. Then gap fill takes you all the way up here to 103, but this is still bearish, strong bear. You can still play it as like a momentum play, especially if the semiconductors get moving. But my favorite play is definitely Nvidia and TSM, which I'm already in TSM, so it's just, if you want another one, MU could be fine. Could be fine. You just got to play the momentum and ride the curtain tails, coat tails. Did I say curtain tails earlier? Coat tails of Nvidia and TSM and Broadcom. So yeah, semiconductors. That's your play. 8 of the 11 sectors are bearish. Let's see. Apple's in a 30-minute high compression squeeze. Microsoft's in a 4-day squeeze. Meta needs to get above 611.52. Amazon has a daily and a 4-hour squeeze. Has curtain tells, yeah, Jesus. Amazon has a good opportunity to break to the upside. That would be nice. Let's see. Nvidia 2-day, 3-day squeeze. Tesla's not doing much. Netflix has a daily squeeze, but I haven't played Netflix in a hot minute. I'm not really paying too much attention to it. Google has a 4-hour squeeze. Not bad. Nice little triangle. Needs to get above or below to trade. You got good daily squeezes in Visa. Net looks great. I haven't talked about software names, but there you go. Net just needs to break above 116, and we got some upside. Good daily squeeze with a nice upthrust. I might need to get into that on Monday. Robinhood, Johnny Pulls has been hammering the table on this one. I'll confirm what he's looking at. Hood looks great. Rivian, round of applause to Rivian. Rivian looks great. Lulu is interesting spot. Johnny John, if it loses 140, 113. Pepsi, look out below. Nike, we're in Nike. Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff out there. It just depends on, can this market wake back up? The Dow is struggling. 421 needs to hold. IWM struggling, needs to hold 218, 219, and above the daily 200. Which I think if you're above this, you're still okay, but you're neutral, teetering on neutral bear. If Dow does lose 421.65, I would want to short this to 408 to retest the daily 200. For all I know, we could get a nasty little flush and bounce hard off these 200s. So we know tons and tons of retail and big investors wait for price to come to the 200 and they rocket hard. So it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world that we come down to these moving averages by any means. We'll see. All right. It's all about the jobs data next week. So, and then we'll see what Thursday, if they change anything on Thursday as far as the data goes. But all right, that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm going to stop the recording and I will get this uploaded to my YouTube. And that should be it. All right, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful evening. I will see you all in the morning. Enjoy your evening. Get some rest. Ciao.